Gentlelady from New Mexico is recognized for any questions she may have for the panel.
Thank you very much, and I really do appreciate, and it was similar to what we had last week, where we had the committee ranking and chair come in and really describe the process of what you went through, very extensive process, lots of hearings, lots of coordination, and that is very, very welcome, and so I want to thank you for doing it on both the Transportation Committee and the Science Committee. I really do appreciate the effort to eliminate lead from the fuel source. Although I will point out that somebody talked to me about sustainable aviation and that you could do algae. And New Mexico, I just put a plug in it. New Mexico has a lot of sun, a lot of bad water, and a lot of land we can't grow anything else on. So, that would definitely eliminate lead, algae, let's put it out there. But I do want to thank you. And the other piece that I think is important is the manner in which this bill also affects rural areas and the coverage for them. I'm wondering if you could just, maybe each of you, Chairman and Ranking, discuss how you think this bill would be seen and how it actually assists in general aviation in our smaller towns and cities.
Well, just on the outside, increase in AIP is going to have a huge help because those airports, they're expensive to keep up, and you have to have a good. It's one thing to have a pothole on a road. It's another thing to have a pothole on a runway because it can be devastating. And so it gets very expensive to keep up those airports and the runways in particular, the taxiways after that. And this is going to be it's going to be really, really good for general aviation in our small communities because that's where the money is targeted, is to the small and medium-sized airports. So that's probably the biggest thing it's going to do to help, in my opinion, to help.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And I think that is actually true. I will say that we had an award, a grant that we talked about probably 2 weeks ago, and we used that quote because it was for one of our small airports, and you build a runway, you can get to the world. And so, that is a very good quote. We used it. Ranking Member Larson, your thoughts on the benefits of this for rural communities?
Sure. I would add that we've also preserved the Essential Air Service Program in the bill, and that's critical. There's an amendment to strike that. I would hope that we don't. I think the Essential Air Service is, in fact, essential. And,
right.
It is a lifeline for our smaller communities. And I will just reiterate on the AIP increase from 3.35 to 4. That increase is predominantly focused on smaller, which tend to be general aviation airports that are largely in more rural areas than not. So, again, there is a conscious bipartisan effort to recognize the role that smaller and rural airports play.
And I think the bipartisan infrastructure law also allowed some of those increased funding for the smaller airports, and that we need to talk about it more often. So many of us represent rural areas, and the federal government does what it's supposed to do, which is invest in infrastructure in those places that could not sustain it, like the way we did with electrification, the way we're doing with broadband. And this is a critical infrastructure, and so thank you for focusing on that on behalf of all of our rural communities. And with that, I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Gentleman from Kentucky is recognized for any questions he may have for the panel.
Thank the chairman. Either the ranking member